buy more things in the future
So
than can I buy it
exactly.
in the past.
So this is what we mean when we say like the nominal value versus like your purchasing power. Like, do you want $100 in 100 US dollars, or do you want 100 pesos? Obviously, you're gonna say $100 US, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because you can buy more stuff,
Yeah.
right? Even if I said you want 200 pesos versus $100, so your mind needs to calculate instantly which one of these can I buy more stuff, right? But what people do is they're looking at, okay, so that makes sense when we compare different currencies. But then when we go compare like assets, people all of a sudden don't say which one of these is going to lead me to buy more stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So if your fuck coin goes up or your stock goes up because they're putting more money into the system, but that doesn't allow you to buy more stuff, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So if your house goes up from 200 to 400,000, and you're like, see, my house doubled. But if you can't go buy two houses, you can still only buy one house because every other house also went up. You didn't get any wealthier. You can still afford one house.
In the future,
So
can I buy it
exactly.
in the past?
So this is what we mean when we say like the nominal value versus like your purchasing power. Like, do you want $100 in 100 US dollars, or do you want 100 pesos? Obviously, you're gonna say $100 US, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because you can buy more stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Even if I said you want 200 pesos versus $100, so your mind needs to calculate instantly which one of these can I buy more stuff, right? But what people do is they're looking at, okay, so that makes sense when we compare different currencies. But then when we go compare like assets, people all of a sudden don't say which one of these is going to lead me to buy more stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So if your fuck coin goes up or your stock goes up because they're putting more money into the system, but that doesn't allow you to buy more stuff, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So if your house goes up from 200 to 400,000, and you're like, see, my house doubled. But if you can't go buy two houses, you can still only buy one house because every other house also went up. You didn't get any wealthier. You can still afford one house. So when your house was 200,000 when you bought it, and then it doubled, you were able to afford one house. And now that it doubled, all the other houses came up with it, so you can still afford one house.
Exactly.
Now, if something would have grew to 800,000 from 200,000 to 800,000, and you're saying, oh, look, this outpaced the growth of the house. Now I can afford two houses, which means I have more purchasing power. So when someone's like, yeah, but my house doubled, and you're like, yeah, but over there holding this thing, you would have got more purchasing power.
Yeah.
That's the premise of all this, bro. You want purchasing power. You don't want to take your purchasing power, and you don't care about random numbers on the screen, because if you did, you'd go swap all your dollars for like, I don't know, like what do they use in Nigeria?
Naira.
You'd go swap all your dollars. You'd be a billion. You'd walk around like, see, I'm a billionaire. Like, all right, bro, just get some milk from the store. Like, not to shit on the Naira specifically, but just you know what I'm saying? You're not in it for more money. You're in it for more purchasing power, and that needs to register in your head. Can you buy more things in the economy right now than you could have 2 years ago? Exactly. If not, your ass needs some Bitcoin.
Yeah. And what about the high yield savings account? People say, what about my emergency fund, and how am I going to spend money if I'm just buying Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, people be on some like, so what are you going to spend your money with? How are you going to pay your bills? Like, so like, okay, even before I was a Bitcoiner, if I knew that I got to pay for my kids' tuition in a few days, right? I'm not digging in my high yield savings account. I'm not digging in my emergency fund. I budget my paycheck, therefore I can anticipate the thing, right? So when I put money away, I'm putting away for the long term.
Yeah.
That's the concept of saving money. You're not saving money to pay for something next week. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you just budget that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
do you want more customers from your ads cheaper? Do you want to make 15 to 20% more profit from your ads? Hirist will do this for you, or you do not.
But I think people who think like that, I think those people who swear by the high yield savings account, they're kind of like not comfortable investing money. So they say like, oh, this is free money. Like, so I'm just going to park it here. I don't have to worry about stocks going up or stocks going down or dealing with real estate or any of that stuff. So I think that's what those people are hiding behind. They're hiding behind the concept. But long term, putting money away. So if I have $1,000 paycheck and I'm gonna put money away from the future. Off top, I'm gonna use like 30%. So $300 I'm putting away for my future. I'm not putting it away for next month.
Exactly.
You got what I'm saying? I'm not putting it away for 4 months from now. If that was the case, I'd leave it in my checking account.
Yeah, exactly.
You got what I'm saying? Like, I'm not putting this away in some type of long-term thing. Like, no, bro. Like, if I put money away, I'm putting away for the future.
And there's things set for emergencies, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the emergencies that you could run into, they're not usually cases where, you know, we need to draw on money right in this very second, you know, like
we're gonna amputate your leg if you don't give us 30 grand.
Exactly, like, and even with medical things, if let's say your medical insurance doesn't cover it, then you know you can pay monthly. You could go into debt behind it, or you can go like for car insurance, or if you have like car issues like your tire popped or whatever the case may be, like if you don't have, you know, like your finances in the correct manner, then you should be able to pay.
Those things are gonna wipe you out. Like, bro, if you can't just go outside and like live your life without selling your Apple stock or having to sell even some of your Bitcoin, like you're doing too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And the thing is, so a big part of it, we tell y'all get a Bitcoin, get a Bitcoin, get a Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, right? But the second part of that is structuring your life in a way where you don't need to sell your Bitcoin. You got what I'm saying? So that means don't overbuy it. You know what I'm saying? So if your paycheck's $1,000, you put $1,000 in, and Bitcoin goes down 10% tomorrow, you need to sell out of it. And then there's nerds on Twitter talking about, see, so you put your money in a high-risk savings account, you don't have to worry about it. Google got that, friends. I'm listening to Bitcoiners. Shut up. Shut up. Or you listen to people on Twitter give you chat GPT ass advice.
Oh God, that shit's crazy.
Yeah, so there's that, man. So structure your life so you're not like overdoing things.
Because if you're living within your means, like I'm living within my means, so there's no emergency that can emerge for me where I'm like, I need my high yield savings. I need my emergency fund.
Hey, bro, sound like a battle rapper. There's no emerge. I can't see.
There's no emergency. Like I have insurances for those cases, and my income is set to a point where, okay, I just got paid. My mom needs me to send her this. Okay, I just got paid here. You know, it's not where I'm. Okay, my emergency fund, I digged in my emergency fund because it's just like, what are you doing that you need an emergency fund or you need like, but emergencies do emerge, and that's when you have like different, that's where you have different speculative, and we can even get into that like MSTI.
Okay, so that's a good point. So y'all know in my triangle, boom, how I structure my portfolio, Bitcoins and savings, all the speculating's on top. If life hits the fan, guess what's going first?
The speculative things you buy.
Yeah, anything that's speculative is going first. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, I didn't anticipate this is gonna happen. All right, cool, you got caught slipping. Here goes my bullshit ass stocks that I was speculating on. Here goes the whatever I'm speculating. I'm not giving up my Bitcoin, bro.
Yeah. When we say speculative things, it's a small triangle. You may be 98% Bitcoin, 2% speculation. Like, okay, let me throw some at this little thing. Let me see, throw a couple, you know, whatever you have towards it.
But I'm speculating on
Bitcoin
like layered, I'm not like, you're selling burritos in exchange for dollars and you want me to invest in your company?
Yeah.
Fuck out my face, Chipotle. Like, no, bro, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? Like, but if you hit me with the I'm selling burritos for dollars, then I'll exchange those dollars for Bitcoin and hold the Bitcoin long term.
Then it starts making sense.
I might look that way. You know what I mean? I might fall for the hezzy pool. Like, okay, let me see what they're talking about. How profitable is this company? How much, Bitcoin can they accumulate? How long do they plan? Okay, now we can go talk, because you're talking about, like adopting a Bitcoin standard. Yeah. Your treasury is now going to be something that's not melting. You could stay in business longer than your competitors. You probably smoke Taco Bell. You know what I mean? Chipotle probably smokes Taco Bell if they're holding Bitcoin, and Taco Bell got the Diddy dollars. And all right, now we can talk. But yeah, so with that being said, let's talk about the Bitcoin treasury companies. So what's the Bitcoin treasury company?
Like what it is, or what's one of them?
What is it and what is for?
Oh, okay. A Bitcoin treasury company is basically a company that they have their normal operations. They just hold Bitcoin on the treasury. So whether they use different instruments to raise money or they use direct profits to buy the Bitcoin, they just hold it on their books as an asset. And then one super popular one that everybody knows is MSTR, MicroStrategy. Well, they call it strategy now, but that's like one of the most popular ones that do that. And Michael Saylor was the leader in this space, the first to adopt this. Because first he started with MicroStrategy. They sold like different computer software, and it was his business started like
he was getting crushed. He was getting crushed by inflation.
Yeah, slowing up. So he had a meeting, met some Bitcoiners, had a meeting with his board, explained everything that he learned, and then they decided to hold Bitcoin on their treasury, and that basically saved their company.
Yep. So yeah, like $500 million in cash, put that in Bitcoin. They start thinking like, I have a corporation, it's like a legal entity that will allow me to raise more capital to get Bitcoin. And then he just started engineering different financial instruments to draw money from the bond market, to draw money from, whatever fixed income or wherever. So yeah, so that's one of them. But you even see companies like GameStop. So in your opinion, why would somebody like GameStop use a Bitcoin treasury strategy when they're selling games?
Just because it's another way to fortitude and like strong suit your business, because there's gonna be times where business is slowing up. Like for example, GameStop, a lot of the transactions for games are happening digitally. So with Xbox, there's Steam, there's PlayStation, the stores, people aren't owning hard copies of games at a large clip now, because people are kind of annoyed to, okay, let me store this game, let me put this game in the game, rather than having it on the cloud of whatever software you're using to play these games on. So for GameStop, their numbers aren't as strong as they used to be. When we were younger, where the only place you could go get a game was GameStop, or you're going to get your game, like the system, from GameStop. So for companies that are kind of like, business is slowing up, then Bitcoin could be a thing that you use to kind of fortitude your business, because on your balance sheet,
you buy yourself time, so you can pivot.
Like let's say Blockbuster would have been, but Blockbuster, that was probably what? When did they go out of business?
I don't even want to think about it. Come and cry. Blockbuster was that spot, boy.
Yeah.
You been at school all week, bro. You got $5. Get three for 10 old movies. Get some popcorn. Get some candy.
Yeah.
Bro, Blockbuster, man, driving movie theaters. But that's one thing. So one, they didn't adapt with the internet. But another thing, so this is the second coming of that. Yeah. There's a lot of companies that went out of business because they didn't adopt to the internet. Think about Sears and think about Amazon. Sears is a spot that used to sell everything like, home appliances, stuff like that. But Amazon was coming and utilizing a new protocol, the HTTP protocol, which the internet is built on top of. So this protocol is coming and nobody can stop it, right? No one was going to slow down the internet once it got released out the bag, right? So now there's companies that are using the internet as an advantage, a competitive advantage. And there's some people who think they can ignore it.
Yeah.
Good luck, right? Now Sears is a goner, right? Same thing with Blockbuster to Netflix. Right, and I think they even have the opportunity to buy Netflix.
Yeah.
So they're ignoring things, right? So you see a big wave of, hey, this technology, this protocol is coming, and people are going to ignore it, and then you get wiped out. It's no different than any other like technological like advance in human history. You know what I'm saying? Like people got sailboats and you got a steam engine, you're gonna outmaneuver them. People got sticks and stones, and you got a musket. People are gonna outmaneuver you. You got muskets and they got machine guns.
Yeah,
you're fucked.
Imagine all the people when the automobile first came out.
Yeah.
I know people like, ain't nobody gonna buy that shit. Ain't nobody gonna be using that. I got my horse. I got my.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know there was like certain type of horses that went higher than others, like stallions or like real quality horses. And then there's people who be like, man, I'm gonna get that automobile.
Yeah, people are like, bro, why would you want an automobile? Like it doesn't even like
stallion.
You can't even feed your automobile. Like you can't feed your automobile. Like who's gonna be my companion? Like, exactly. And people just start making up reasons why they're not adopting.
Because think about in that time, like there was an argument to be made, right? But now we're like, why would I go anywhere on a horse if I could just take my car?
That's what everyone watching this with your kids are gonna think about you. They're gonna be like, so the dollar kept losing its purchasing power, and Bitcoin kept gaining purchasing power, and you kept your Diddy dollars. Yeah, exactly. Your kids gonna be, damn, my pop's dumb as hell.
Or your great grandkids gonna think, man, my
grandpa was not on that. But like, even like, if you think about this, y'all, like, we go through this right now with housing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so y'all seeing that the cost of housing kept going up, like they kept making more money, which is sending the cost of housing up, and you sold out your house to take profits and buy a Mercedes. Now I need to figure out housing for myself. You could have solved this problem for me when they were selling houses for 3 burritos. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's gonna be the same thing. We're like, okay, it sounds like we're talking crazy, but bro, on the Federal Reserve's website, the St. Louis chapter of the Federal Reserve, they have a chart where it shows $1,000 worth of purchasing power from 100 years ago, right? And that $1,000 from 100 years ago is worth $34 now. Damn. And then on that chart, so saying the purchasing power, and it's just in free fall, we're putting the chart here, is
you want employees to be able to book their own trips so that you don't have to play travel agent. With Navan, you get the ease of allowing employees to book on their own, so they no longer have to chase someone down to book their trip. And they know what the travel policy is for the company because it's built right into the search results. So if you're ready to elevate how you and your company...
It's the $1,000 just in free fall. They also have, on the same exact chart, the purchasing power of Bitcoin going vertical. The people who make your money are telling you that your money is losing value. Mm-hmm. The people who make your money are telling you that there's something that can protect and grow your purchasing power. And that $1,000 from 100 years ago is worth $34 now. Damn. And then on that chart, so saying the purchasing power, and it's just in free fall, we're putting the chart here, it's the $1,000 just in free fall. They also have, on the same exact chart, the purchasing power of Bitcoin going vertical. The people who make your money are telling you that your money is losing value. Mm-hmm. The people who make your money are telling you that there's something that can protect and grow your purchasing power. Why don't people talk about that? Because the NBA finals start today. Oh God. Why would we talk about that if the finals about to start? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, why would
this movie star just went into
this movie star just did this. This celebrity is uppercut his girlfriend and like, bro, I don't care about none of that. I'm trying to like secure my legacy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to make sure my kids can enjoy life and enjoy their way of life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna need to protect their purchasing power too. It's not even just about me. Like, today my daughter's birthday. You know what I mean? Like, bro, one day she's gonna need money for a university. Yeah. One day she's gonna need money for a house. You guys, like, bro, you would be selfish not looking into how can I survive and thrive, and then on top of that, how can I do the same for my kids? So if you're not looking into this type of stuff and you have children or you have nieces and nephews, and my niece watched this show, like, Ivory, what up, Uncle, love you. Like, I'm like fund her investments and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because, bro, she's 10, 11 years old. One day she's gonna need to pay for school. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and how you store your money, like,
it matters. Even to teach them about this type of stuff. So when dad passes away, you don't go sell my Bitcoin for some Rolexes. You know what I mean? My son not selling. My son like, hey,
Seven might do that.
Hey, my pops is tripping. I need a Lambo. Like, boy, want to leave me some digital money. Boy, I need a Ferrari. Like, you sit down and you talk about this. Like, hey, like, the dollar's losing its value. Like, okay, go do this experiment with your children, right? Or your nieces, your nephews, like whatever little kids are around. Go to the store and take a picture of what's at the store, the prices, right? And then in 1 year, go take another picture. Or if you ordered anything on Amazon, go back. Or you ordered anything on Amazon, or maybe we should do something next episode. If you ordered anything on Amazon, Walmart.com, right? Like, let's say during the pandemic, go pull up that order right now and try to order everything else, order the same exact things that you ordered in the past. I bet you it's 50% more expensive. Okay. It's going to be 50% more expensive. Let's say you got a whole grocery cart, 10 items, $100, it's $10 an item. You go try to order that, I guarantee it's going to be
140,
150. But then CPI says that the shit only grows at 3% per year.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, buddy. right? Like, let's be for real. But anyway, man, this shit's serious, bro. Like, we be laughing and joking and cracking jokes, but we're for real. Like, and that's another thing, like, like, how people will say, like, oh, I'll do anything for my family, or I'll do anything for my mom. Nigga, read a book. You gonna do anything for your... Yeah, like, don't draw the line with dumb shit. Like, those are the books that we recommend. But yeah, man, so what else we got? What else we want to talk about? Oh, let's talk about more about the
treasury company.
Treasury companies, and then let's get into security. All right, so Bitcoin treasury companies. So I know I said like you could speculate with these treasury companies, but it doesn't mean just because somebody announces they're going to adopt the Bitcoin standard or that they do adopt the Bitcoin standard that you should buy into them, right? Exactly. So a lot of these companies who are, they're kind of first in the door. Like Michael said, they're kind of, pioneered this new way of running a corporate business. And now everybody's adopting it, but you don't know who the true holders are, who's gonna like actually hold the Bitcoin, right? So you can value these companies based on what their market cap is, how much assets they have versus how much Bitcoin they own, right? So the net asset values, their assets minus their liabilities, right? And compare that to how much the Bitcoin that they own is worth. So hypothetically, let's say there's a $10 billion company, right? They have $10 billion in their assets. So they got 12 billion in assets, they have 2 billion in liabilities, so net assets they have 10 billion. Then all their Bitcoin on their balance sheet is worth 10 billion, right? So they're trading 1-to-1, right? So you're like, all right, cool. MicroStrategy might be trading at 2.5. So you're saying, okay, I'm going to speculate that this company is going to grow faster than MicroStrategy grows because other investors are going to recognize that that they're trading lower than or on par with what their Bitcoin is. So whatever their Bitcoin's worth plus their actual operation company, it could, the operation company could grow or they can use that to get more money, blah, blah, blah. I'm speculate with this company. All right, cool. That's kind of how everybody's playing it. Like on Bitcoin Twitter, that's how people are playing it. Here's something you need to consider. What happens when the value of Bitcoin goes down, right? So when you have $10 billion in assets, but Bitcoin falls 20%. So you have 8 billion in Bitcoin. So now you're trading under a 1-to-1 for your Bitcoin, right? Logically, what most people are going to do, let's say not even 20 consider, what happens when the value of Bitcoin goes down, right? So when you have $10 billion in assets, but Bitcoin falls 20%. So you have 8 billion in Bitcoin. So now you're trading under a 1-to-1 for your Bitcoin, right? Logically, what most people are going to do, let's say not even 20%, let's say Bitcoin falls in half. Logically, so your company's worth, or your assets are worth 10 billion, your Bitcoin's worth 5 billion. What would make the most sense is for them, right, from like their perspective, from the fiat mind perspective, what would make the most sense is that they sell Bitcoin to buy shares and take the shares off the market. You get what I'm saying? So what these people are saying, or what's going to happen, I know what's going to happen, is people are like, hey, buy into our company or buy our stock because we own Bitcoin, and it's going to shoot up and it's going to trade 2-3 times their net asset value. But then when the net asset value comes down because Bitcoin tanks, they're going to have an incentive to say, do I keep my Bitcoin and let the stock tank, or do I sell my Bitcoin and try to save my stock? And all these fiat-minded CEOs and board of directors, they're going to say, okay, so imagine if all these Bitcoin, so exactly what you said. So imagine if all these Bitcoin treasury companies are thinking this way. So let's say Bitcoin goes down 70%. Now you got 1,000 companies with the incentive to sell their Bitcoin. You got what I'm saying? What do you think happens when Bitcoin goes down 70% and then these companies start selling out to protect their stock? A stock is Diddy dollars. They're going to sell their pristine collateral or their asset in order to protect their Diddy dollars. And then Bitcoin's going to go down even lower. So that's what some people like foresee the next bubble to be. Who knows? Some people might say, well, I'll find another way to raise money to buy up the bottom. But the people who are playing Bitcoin, they're not Bitcoiners. They're not thinking like, they're just seeing a way to make, they're opportunists. You get what I'm saying? And like Nip said, like, I hope your opportunity survives the opportunist. We have an opportunity to save the U.S. economy, the global economy from these central banks, and people get to playing fiat games. So, like, if you're gonna speculate, but look deeply into this. You know what I'm saying? Go see what their CEO is talking about. Does he actually understand the concept? What are the board of directors? Are they public on the social media? How often are they buying? What are they doing to buy? Are they using cash flow from their operation company? Are they issuing more debt? Okay, if they're issuing debt, fixed income, what is their plan to pay that debt if Bitcoin tanks? Right? So if you're promised to paying a 10% dividend and your cash flow slows up from your business, where you can get that money to pay that dividend from? Selling your Bitcoin?
I switched from due dates to due dates, and it made me go from weeks behind to weeks ahead of my deadlines. You see, I used to just bedrock.
You got what I'm saying? So one part of everything that we're saying is stack as much Bitcoin as possible, but another thing is you need to be in the position to keep your Bitcoin. So that whether that's you as a person, you know, or your family, or whether that's a corporation, you know what I'm saying? So y'all, like, don't take anybody's word for anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why in the Well Spot, I'll post, like, hey, go watch this presentation.
Go verify it yourself.
Yeah, go verify them yourself. And I found some holes in some of these companies' games already, and I'll talk about that as, you know, more things. But I'm gonna talk to you when the camera comes off. But they're like, I'm starting to see holes in people's game because, matter of fact, I'll put it out there. It's MicroStrategy. So I'm watching this presentation that they just did because they have that Stride now. Now they have Stride, right? And they're saying like, we owe X amount in debt, but we have X amount in Bitcoin to pay the debt. We can sustain paying this debt for the next 300 years, right? And even if Bitcoin were to go down 30%, we can now sustain paying this debt for 30 years, right? If I say something like that, y'all should just like assume what I'm talking about is selling my Bitcoin to pay the debt.
Yeah.
But the Bitcoin allegedly is unencumbered, which means nobody can take your Bitcoin. You don't owe the Bitcoin to anybody lending. But when you come out on these presentations and say, yeah, even if Bitcoin went down 30%, we can still pay our debt. So give us money. Are you telling me as the investor that you're willing to sell your Bitcoin to pay off the debt? Now you're paying fiat games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I kind of want, you know, to do more research on that, but I've seen that in their presentation that came out a few days ago. I've never seen anybody mention it on Twitter. They're just taking everybody's word for it, and I don't trust nobody. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust nobody with my children's future.
That's the importance of doing the deep dive, because there's people who are all in MSTR, and I like big ups to what Sailor is doing and what Strategy is doing, but like he was saying, just doing the deep dive on what's really going on, how are they really going about doing this. Like, what does a disaster scenario look like for, you know, Strategy? What does these disaster scenarios look like for these different companies? Because there's a lot of these, there's a lot of these companies that are popping out because it's the new big thing they see. Okay, if I say I hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet, then our stock is skyrocketing. So,
yeah. And my intention when I speculate is to get more money for Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Which means, like, yeah, I might speculate. I mean, I might even see me trade, you know, whatever. But the purpose of it is I'm trying to get more money for Bitcoin, or I'm trying to get more cash flow in order to not have to sell my Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That makes sense? So, with that being said, y'all, only the paranoid survive. You know what I'm saying? So I'm watching this presentation. I'm like, what do they mean by that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. But anyway, only the paranoid survive. So with that being said, let's talk about security, because the biggest part, step one from episode 1 to episode now 9, we're telling y'all, go get you some Bitcoin and get a lot of it as much as you can. Leave everything that's related to a Diddy dollar alone. Step 2 is to not get got for your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? So let's talk about security.
Yeah, so security there's several different ways you can go about protecting your Bitcoin. So it goes into me, the way I think about security is different layers in security. So the first layer to me is like self-storage, you storing your Bitcoin yourself. So we always tell you to take your Bitcoin off of these exchanges, whether that's Robinhood, Coinbase, Kraken, what's another one? Swan, Stripe, any of these.
Gemini.
It doesn't matter how like regulated you think they are, how trustworthy you think they are. It's always important to make sure the Bitcoin you have is the amount you actually have. So if it's on an exchange, they're just giving you access to that Bitcoin. You don't really know, do I have this Bitcoin? It's just because at that point it's just a number on the screen, right?
Yep.
That's what FTX was doing, and these different exchange failures. So
wait, so you said that was step one. I actually think it was step two, because I think step one is Bitcoin itself.
yeah.
So then you go, all right.
Layers,
Bitcoin itself is the defense layer. It's never been hacked,
mm-hmm.
right? So if you can't hack Bitcoin itself, which would be like you cheat the mining system in order to mine all the Bitcoin yourself, right? Or you crack something and you're able to like get everyone's private keys, mm-hmm. right? That would be like, so layer one is Bitcoin itself. Now, Bitcoin itself can't be hacked, so where do people go? To layer two, which is like the exchanges, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So exchanges, and all right, so after you take your Bitcoin into your own custody, there's different ways you can do that. You can either store it in a single sign key, or you can do multi-signature. So what a multi-signature is you have two keys. So let's say you have a ledger and you have a cold card. So your ledger is one key, and the keys that I'm talking about is the seed phrase. So your seed phrase is your Bitcoin, because your Bitcoin isn't physically on this USB drive, this ledger. It's just
a password to get it. Your Bitcoin's in cyberspace, and you have a secret password to access it.
Exactly. So it'd be like your house. Like you have your front door key. That's what lets you into.
That's a good analogy. So your public key. So if you say send me some Bitcoin, here's my address. That would be my home address. It's
mm-hmm.
public.
Yeah.
But my private key would be me having the actual key to get in the house.
Exactly.
All right, go ahead.
So with the multi-signature setup is you need two keys to send your Bitcoin anywhere, right? So let's say if I want to send Chris some Bitcoin, I need to get, once I broadcast this transaction and I want to send Chris $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, then my multi-sig setup, whether you're using Casa Unchained or you set that up yourself, there's ways you can do that. It's a lot more like, you need to really know what you're doing. So my recommendation, go to either Unchained or Casa to do this. But I would need to get my ledger, sign the transaction on my ledger, then get my cold card, sign the transaction on my cold card, and I can send it off. That's more secure than having a single sign, which is I just have one ledger and I just sign my transaction with one ledger. So it's more secure, because if you were to physically get attacked, then somebody to send your Bitcoin, they would need, two keys to do it instead of just one.
Yep.
Compromise.
Yep. All right. So actually, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with let's talk about the keys and stuff. All right. So the reason why Bitcoiners, or the reason why me and OJ are gonna tell you not your keys, not your coin, not your keys, not your cheese, right? So when you like he was explaining, the Bitcoin's not actually sitting on your ledger. It's not actually sitting on your cold card. It's just in cyberspace, right? And you have access to it with a private key. And what a private key could be is 12 words, 24 words, right? So that's your seed phrase. So the reason why people say not your keys, not your cheese, or not your keys, not your coin, is because if I go on Coinbase and I buy Bitcoin, right? It's just sitting on Coinbase. How do I know that that Bitcoin is actually there? Because if you think about it, all Coinbase is an app.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I build an app and then you send me $100,000, I can say, yeah, bro, you have 5,000 Bitcoin, because all it is
numbers.
It's just numbers on the screen. I can say, yeah, thanks for that. You got 500,000 Bitcoin. The only way you can verify that Bitcoin is actually there and it's yours is to take self-custody of it. Thanks for your business, Coinbase. Send it to me, right? I'm going to withdraw it and I'm going to take custody of it. Those private keys will be mine, right? So when you get a ledger, when you get a cold card, when you get Treasure, right, you generate a seed phrase. You get the private key. You go make the private key on that device, right? That gives you access to the Bitcoin.
Yep.
All right, so if you hold your Bitcoin on Coinbase, or you hold it on Kraken, or you hold it on Gemini, you hold it on Swan, you hold it on wherever you buy your Bitcoin from, and that company goes bankrupt, guess who gets access to the Bitcoin first, or to any other assets first? Their creditors, the people who lent them money.
What if I told you that there's a way to cut your
your company costs by 74% and get better SEO results.
That makes sense, right? You are the depositor.
That's why people from FTX scam, they're still scrumming lawyers together trying to get their money. There's a lot of people who still haven't got
exactly
or access to the money that they were supposedly had on there.
So imagine these venture capital funds who are loaning FTX money, or this, whoever loaning these people money, and then they go under. And you don't understand any of this stuff. You just, I've got some Bitcoin FTX. All right, when FTX goes under, all those people who loan, they set up a negotiation or they set up their agreement saying, hey, we get first dibs to your assets. And then you're over here like, I got a Bitcoin with FTX. No, FTX got your Bitcoin. That's their Bitcoin. Right? Like in Friday, he said, this is my body, fool. This is my Bitcoin, fool. When shit hit the fan, that's going to be their Bitcoin. Right? Another thing, too, is like how people, you might even hear a Bitcoiner say, like, nobody can take your Bitcoin from you. Well, if your Bitcoin is sitting on Coinbase, that's not your Bitcoin. So when the judge gives the subpoena, it's like, and let's say you just like memorize or something, like that's wealth that you can walk around the entire world with, right? You can get access to your wealth because you know these 12 or 24 words. All right, so the next thing that you guys are gonna ask, like, okay, so I got a treasure and I generated a seed phrase from the treasure, right? And I lost my treasure. Okay, cool. You have a seed phrase, right? Go get you another treasure.
And that's why we say your Bitcoin is tied to the key. So if you lose the seed phrase, you lose your Bitcoin because your seed phrase is your Bitcoin.
Yeah. And with that being said, if you don't lose your seed phrase, you don't lose your Bitcoin, right? So if you lose your device or somebody steals it out of your gym backpack. I don't know why you have it in your gym backpack, but okay, cool. I'll give me another device, put those 24 words in, boom, I got my Bitcoin. So, bro, think about this, bro. This is one of the first things that you truly own. Because in the traditional finance way, you only own something at the power of another individual taking it from you. Right? I only own this house until the government decides I didn't pay my property taxes and then they take it from me. I own this watch, it's mine, but that means there's a threat of violence. And I gotta off somebody to protect my watch, right? But the thing is, somebody can take it from you.
They can.
Right? Someone can't take your Bitcoin from you if you're storing it properly. Because nobody knows your seed phrase. Unless you give it to them, right? So with that being said, let's talk about scams. What we're saying is the most important thing about this security thing, right, or access to your Bitcoin is your seed phrase. So nobody should know your seed phrase, right? The only time somebody would know your seed phrase is if you're okay with them taking your Bitcoin. So if, so your wife, like, okay, you and your wife, you guys, like, because if you pass away, she needs your wealth for your children, or your husband, whatever, you get what I'm saying? So giving someone access to your seed phrase, once you take proper self-custody, gives them access to your Bitcoin, right? So the first layer of defense is Bitcoin itself, right? You have all the miners, you have all the nodes protecting the system. The second layer of defense is you taking self-custody. I buy on Swan, I put it in my treasure, right? Like I transfer it to my treasure address that I have the private seed for, right? The third layer of defense is you, right? Like you don't let no one finesse you. So talk about some of the common scams.
The way I like to say it is you versus yourself at this point, because you have it, you're taking self-custody, you're taking it all into your own hands. Now the only way you can lose your Bitcoin is from yourself, because most of the ways that people lose their Bitcoin isn't from physical attacks, because most people don't know what a ledger is if they're looking at it. Most people aren't running into people's houses. There's cases where they do, but that's very rare cases. There's like a random guy from Idaho with 10 Bitcoin. Like, I don't know how do I know this guy has 10?
It's too much of a risk to be like, I'm gonna pick a random house. This guy might have something nobody knows.
Exactly. So most of them are social engineering scams, and what I mean by that, that's either like phishing attacks from spoofed websites, or like malware and QR codes, or there's cases where people get emailed from Coinbase, but it's a Coinbase with an I, so it's off by like a letter, and people don't realize. They're like, reset your password, and people go reset their Coinbase password. There's people who have Bitcoin on Coinbase, or they're like, oh, this is Apple calling you, and for some reason Apple's asking for your seed phrase, and people are giving away their seed phrase.
Later, Steve Jobs himself. Steve Jobs himself. Hey, yeah, this is Steve Jobs, bro. Can knock on the door like, hey, I'm back from the dead. I need you.
Or people get like,
bro.
Yeah.
Oh,
God. Or people get calls from like faked Unchained, Casa, or they get calls from Cold Card, or.
But these scammers are hitting at a high rate. They got Mark Cuban, right?
Yeah, they got Mark Cuban for $240 million. All they did was call him and pretend to be from Google. Like, you think what we're saying?
All this work where we could have called Mark Cuban and just got.
Like,
hey, why are we doing all that? We should have just called Mark Cuban.
People think that.
Hey, give us your seed phrase, bro.
People think that we sound ridiculous with these scams, but you'd be surprised on how many. Let's say you call 1,000 people in a week and you get 10 people. That's a good rate for you, because you're using like what these scammers are doing. They're buying data from like databases, like people who go and steal data. They're buying from data brokers, and they're looking at who has something. Because I'm not trying to call the guy with $500 worth of Bitcoin. Whatever the case is, I'm not trying to call the guy with $500. They're trying to hit high net worth individuals who have something worth calling for. So they'll get your email, they'll get your phone number, they'll set up fake different websites that people click on. They're just doing different things. So being aware of what these things are is very important. And like, there's cases where people are like, okay, I have a multi-signature set up, that means I'm good from everything. Well, there's cases where
if they talk you out of your seed phrase for multiple of your signatures, you're still cooked.
Exactly. So these social engineering, they don't care. They run into people who have triple setups, or
they're like, let me get every seed phrase.
Yeah, because I need all of them to send. It could be anything so it doesn't matter if you're multi-sig, single sig.
So yeah, I'm extremely paranoid. Coinbase got hacked, right? Mm-hmm. So Coinbase gets hacked, and they say 1% of their customers' data got leaked. I think everybody's data got leaked, because how's it that it was 1%, but everybody and their mom that I know that uses Coinbase got their shit leaked?
Guess which student has a better chance of getting into an Ivy League school? First, take a look at Zach. He's valedictorian.
Leaked. So now I get I get text messages every day. Yeah. Hey, click this and reset your password. Hey, there's a package on the way. Hey, I even get WhatsApp messages all the time. Hey, are you looking for a job opportunity? Yeah. Hey, like, anybody's trying to get you. I'm not clicking on nothing, bro. I'm extremely paranoid. Sometimes I actually have stuff coming from FedEx. Sometimes I actually have stuff from I don't care. I don't even know at this point, bro. I'm not clicking nothing, bro. I'm not clicking nothing, right? Like, and then another thing too is, man, get all that Bitcoin off your phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, get everything off your phone, because if somebody even ran into you in person and try to force you to send Bitcoin, I don't even got no Bitcoin on my phone, big dog. You know what I mean? Like, I don't got nothing for you. So, but yeah, like, I'm paranoid, bro, because I get calls all day. Like,
I do too. Yeah.
Spam calls, bro. I get text messages. I get all this stuff all day long, and you're like, everybody wants your Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Because look, think about this. If somebody calls you pretending to be Verizon, and then they finesse you into getting into your Verizon account,
yeah,
I don't really understand how that's going to help them immediately. Maybe they got to go do something else. But if somebody gets into your Coinbase account, right? Like, they got your password, so now they can just press send to wherever.
Even if they're calling from Verizon, they can get into your iCloud.
Oh yeah, if they get into your you're right. If they get into
this is Verizon, let me give them my iCloud.
Yeah, like, so, but your grandma might fall for this. Like,
yeah.
Oh well, baby, they said they were calling from Cornbase. Yeah, so he was helping me out. Now, Granny don't got no damn Bitcoin. You ain't sure this episode.
And it's not even. He'll be that. But it's not even only older people. It's a lot of like mid-aged people falling for that shit too.
Falling for the hezzy pool, like, bro, you know they gonna hezzy pool. You're gonna jump. They're gonna step through and lay the ball. Exactly. Don't fall for no hezzy pools.
And there's even cases where it's not just social engineering scams. It's like, Well, I guess it still falls under that sector, but it's not them just emailing you. It could even be cases where you're in these deep Telegram groups, Discord groups, getting got.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put up some emails that I get right here, because I get these emails all day, every day. I get these text messages all day, every day. I'm gonna put them up here so y'all know what it looks like. So if y'all are being targeted and stuff, like, don't think like, oh, somebody has a job opportunity for me. Like,
but even the case, there's a case where you may know, and you know, like, you'll have like stressful days.
Hey, hold on. Well, this is crazy. Look at this, y'all. We blocked one of your payments. We blocked one of your payments there, Chris Johnson. We recently blocked your $2,000 payment to Robinhood Securities because the pay isn't eligible to blah, blah, right? So think about this. Chase Bank just told me I can't deposit money into Robinhood.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then you would naturally go, which like most uninformed people go, it's my money. Yeah. No, it's not. It's the money in the bank is not yours. It's the bank's money.
Yeah.
You'll know if the bank goes bankrupt. Because guess who get access to that money first? Mm-hmm. Their creditors, right? Yeah. You got what I'm saying? You're like, think about this, bro. Somebody's telling me I can't send money to somebody else.
Yeah. Because
whatever reason, right? You're like, we're talking about personal property. That's my money, right? Or if it was my Bitcoin, I could send it to you. I could send it to whoever, right? I could send whoever. Oh, off topic. You know those dudes that escaped from that New Orleans prison? Mm-hmm. So I guess one of their grandmas sent them money, right? And then she got arrested for sending money, right? But I'm thinking, like, I see this on Twitter. I'm like, imagine your grandbaby locked up, right? You're older, you're not keeping up with social media, so you probably didn't see this is an escape prison. Like, bro, you probably watch Wheel of Fortune all day. Mm-hmm. You just see your grandson's home. Oh, he got home early. Hey, here, baby, go get you some clothes. Next thing you know, you're in the feds, right? But I have on Twitter, like, kind of jokingly, but kind of telling the truth, like, Bitcoin solves this. You know what I'm saying? And some people will be like, oh, well, you're breaking the law, blah, blah. Like, hey, it's my money. I'm gonna send money to whoever, because it starts with people shutting the gate to you can't send money to criminals because you're helping them and they broke the law, right? It starts there, and most of you guys will probably agree with this. Half of y'all probably agree with this, right? Half of y'all think Granny should be in prison, right? But then what ends up happening is that gives the government the incentive to change what a criminal is.
Yeah.
Now you go to a COVID protest and you're a criminal. You got what I'm saying? So you go to the truckers who went to go protest COVID during COVID, right? And then people were sending them money. And then the banks were identifying the people sending them money. Like, hey, we're truckers, we're out in the middle of nowhere, we need food, blah, 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 we're missing work, we're not getting paid. So all the, the citizens who are like, hey, yeah, like, I support them, send them money, and now your bank is kicking you out of the bank. Yeah. Because you just, so what ends up happening is whether you agree with Granny or not, I agree with Granny, but whether you agree with Granny or not, you just leave a slippery slope so they can change the who is a criminal. Mm-hmm. You got what I'm saying? So that kind of goes back to this whole thing of like, it's in the people's hands now to not determine what's right and what's wrong based on what the government says. Because the government should be there to support the people, not the people being slaves to the government. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, bro, if I want to give imagine if it wasn't money. Imagine if it was coloring books. If I want to give my coloring books to the homeless man at the gas station, I don't care why he's doing what, or, you know what I'm saying? Here's the same thing with money, bro. Like, hey, here's the money. You know what I'm saying? Now in extreme cases, you have like, terrorism and blah, blah, but I'm sure Granny didn't know that. Yeah. And now she's in the feds. You know what I'm saying?
Even if she did, it's her money.
You're like, bro, it just makes you question things, and then like the fiat world stops making sense. Yeah. But anyways, I don't even know how we got on that rant.
Yeah, I don't know. But I was gonna say, like, even like if people do know these scams, could be cases where, like, back to the scams, like, even if people do...
Wait, hold on, one more thing. Hey, y'all find out Granny's still locked up. I'll bail her out. I'll bail Granny out, I promise y'all. Go ahead.
But I was saying, like, even if people do know about these scams, you could still get got by just slipping up. Like, like, you have stressful days, you have, like, maybe your kids are running around, somebody's in your ear, and you're not really reading something all the way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's just, like, it gets pretty deep, and it gets pretty, like... because these scammers are hitting, they're going and going, they're just trying to get a hit. So they're not stopping.
I even seen where they'll watch your wallet. Let's say you send money from one address to the next, and then you're gonna send money to that address again, and they'll spoof the address to make it look like it's the same address, like, and you're just like trying to, like, oh yeah, I said this before, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, like, you have to be paranoid. You have the most valuable piece of property in the world. Yeah. The rest of the world will slowly find out how valuable it is, but you already know. That's why you're watching this podcast. That's why you stack it bit by bit. The people, the extreme lengths people are going to go to try to take your property. Imagine, like, imagine you have a house in Malibu, right? If everyone started to realize, like, hey, instead of living in the cold, we could go to the beach in Malibu. We just got to go finesse them out of their house. You got what I'm saying? That's what's happening. You got Bitcoin,
people
bro.
Go do everything in their power to take it.
Yes. So don't click on random links. Don't.
Now that I use Monday service, AI makes solving tickets my form of meditation. Monday service.
Coinbase came and knocked on your door and said, hey, there's been an emergency. If you've seen me at somewhere in Houston or LA or something, I'm like, hey, like, nah, like, you know, I can help you out with your ledger, because you're like, hey, Chris, I'm trying to set it up, I got a problem. I'm like, yeah, just give me your seat. Don't give it to me, bro.
Exactly, nobody.
Unless you want me to have your Bitcoin and disappear into Never Neverland, don't give anyone your Bitcoin, you know what I'm saying? So, what else you want to talk about?
We could segue into Elon Musk, like, having his brain dump on the timeline, just realizing, like, just the whole debt system. There's